Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News. Sentinels have arrived in Brazil, Sao Paulo, for the upcoming Omega Group action in a few days' time. But there's still lots to go on in the Group Alpha side, we'll see in a second. But Tarik gives his opinion on the Sentinels team and how they might fare in their massive matchup against Fnatic coming relatively soon. Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to discuss. Firstly, Jing here unfortunately already knocked out of the tournament on PRX, swapped jerseys with Aspas, thought was kind of nice. Also though, thought this was cool as well, so Zeta, right, who's now on T1 in the practice room again at Cloud9, just because, you know, Zeta was on Cloud9, and then, you know, he moved on, the coach of the team moved on to T1, and it was cool to see him kind of back with the guys as well, after the period they had last year, and the new roster that Cloud9 have that obviously dominated Paper X. Whether they can repeat the trick against DRX, that's a big question. Whether some of the trash talk they were, you know, were giving out is going to come back to bite them, we'll see. But so far, North America, 6 maps won, 0 maps lost. But we're going to see today if that can actually keep up, because the rest of, well, it's certainly not going to keep up throughout the rest of Group A, because it's actually impossible for that to be true, because at some point, some North American teams would have to play each other. But Sentinels have arrived in Brazil as well, so it's 1 week today. They played their first, potentially last game of Sao Paulo up against Fnatic, because it's interesting so far. North America has pretty much dominated Europe. Of course, we saw what happened. Koi versus NRG, especially Evil Geniuses versus Team Heretics, was a pretty comfortable victory. And okay, MIBR went down to Talon, but apart from that, the Americas has been doing very well so far. EMEA though is very top heavy. You look at Liquid, you look at Fnatic, you look at Na'Vi, like those teams are, you know, honestly kind of different level to the rest of the teams in Europe, and a lot of those, well, of course, are stacked over there in Group Omega, where things are going to get very interesting. I thought it was a funny image here, really. Like, Zekken looks like he's just turned up to class, right? The way he's holding his backpack here, it almost looked like a, you know, take your son to work day here with Dephh and Zekken. And then also we've got Sikis. Of course, Sikis, the substitute for the team. It actually says sub on his t-shirt. But I do wonder whether there's a world in which, because Sikis is like a phenomenal player, and I know that he took a step out because, you know, he had some mental issues that he was working on and stuff like that out of the game. And I believe that's now all resolved and Six doing well, which is great news. But I mean, Six is such a phenomenal player, such a like versatile player as well, that there might be a world in which, because some teams, like Six feels like he should be a starting player. Like, he's easily good enough to be a starting player in the Americas Franchise League. He's, of course, a bench player for Sentinels, but maybe there's a world in which they could work him in somehow on certain maps, certain setups, certain, you know, certain maybe agents they need to use. Could Six step in for somebody at some point? I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but other teams have tried the 6-man roster type vibe, and I think it can work if the team is close, like outside of the game. More roster drama for you guys, though, on the, well, Turtle Troop side. So, of course, we know that Okonos yesterday was released by Turtle Troop. They dropped him. They did the same to Harmful, who has now deactivated his Twitter account, unfortunately, probably only for the short term. But Okonos kind of says, you know, looking for a team, looking to perfect my craft, all this type of stuff. So hopefully he lands on his feet elsewhere. But Turtle Troop making changes. Now, Wedded says the following here. Drops the smiley face. So whether, like, he's frustrated that he's also been dropped, it seems doubtful that they'll be making, like, another change. They made a 2-man change for the players that were arguably most underperforming. Whether they'd make a 3-man change and he's like, you know, the smiley face is actually not so happy at all, or whether he believes they're signing some real talented players. For example, Trick says here in the replies, who you signing? And he says Zyra and Simple, which obviously isn't going to be true, but nonetheless maybe implying that the players that they are signing for Turtle Troop are going to be rather better than their previous iteration of the team. So we'll see how it goes. As I said yesterday, there's a chance that an organization came through and said, hey, we want to sign you guys and actually pay you a salary, but we're not happy with this current roster. We want you to make a change, maybe pick up X player, Y player, and see how that goes. So probably confirmed over the coming days. But yeah, certainly with everyone over in Brazil right now, the kind of North American Tier 2 scene is on a bit of a shutdown, and therefore there is time for these teams to make changes if they want to. We even saw yesterday Kanpeki scrimming with TSM potentially, so we'll see if that comes to anything over the coming days. Meadow as well, previously for G2 and also like FPX as well, looking for a team as well. So lots of teams looking for changes at the present time. And also, speaking of North American practice, thought this is quite interesting from Tex, of course, over at the Guards, saying that during Brazil, the quality of NA scrims has gone down massively. And as Leaf says from Cloud9, why does it matter? You guys are 24-0ing the franchise teams anyway. You can't 24-0 Yeaster. He will ace you to at least get one. So pretty interesting, right? But that's the thing with the Guard, that right now all of their practice partners, because the Guard, okay, they're very good as well as a team, and they could easily easily, I think, be franchise quality, to be honest, with their current roster. But they get most of their practice playing at the franchise teams, and all the franchise teams are out there in Brazil right now for the main event in Sao Paulo. Therefore, who do the guard practice against? So the issue is, right, if you're the guard, you don't want to scrim M80, you don't want to scrim TSM, you don't want to scrim the teams in your group because you might give something away. So you might be scrimming G2, you might be scrimming the team's phase on the other side of the group, but you kind of run out of options relatively quickly then. And even as, goes on to say in the reply here from Valin, you and Mike are trading 40 bombs, what do you want them to do? So maybe the guard are just demolishing everyone in North America right now with all the franchise teams away, and therefore that's where Texas is like, look, the scrim quality goes down because we just demolish everyone, and that's what Valin seems to be implying here in the reply. So yeah, we'll see if that affects anything, right? Because when the franchise teams return, then and the tier 2 scene starts up again, there might be some teams that haven't been able to get quite the same scrim quality, and therefore it holds them back a bit, especially because some of these teams got very good by playing some of the franchise teams early on. And even as Texas here, I hit tab and see Mike, I believe that's net 35-9, so not too bad. Now, I wanted to share this clip here from Tarik where he discusses the Sentinels situation there. They're now, of course, in Sao Paulo getting ready to go, and he gives his thoughts on the North American region in general. Of course, so far undefeated, but really they're going to have to play the better teams from Europe are over there in Group Omega, there's no doubt. And Fnatic, of course, are the round 1 opponents for Sentinels. And I mean, look, he reckons they're going to turn up. This is their real debut. How well can they perform? They're going to have the crowd behind them. And yeah, he believes they're going to play very well indeed.
Saucy Pancada. I consider this to be their real debut because I know it's like memed and but they actually had no practice at the Ludwig Tarik event. So this to me is like them playing after preparing. So this match is going to go crazy. We got Alpha here as well with the rest of the boys here. Fnatic's got a stacked team. Boasty, Durka. I'm nervous a little bit. You think the crowd will go crazy for Sen because of Saucy and Pancada? Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think the crowd will 100% be on Sentinel's side for that Fnatic match.
Well, here's the play I was talking about.
Although, you know, Fnatic has players that are definitely loved. But I think Sentinels, Brazilians, all that combines, it's too much. Our time is coming soon. It's going to be so crazy when Sentinels win the whole event. And then people are going to be like, I knew this would happen. But we're going to pull up the VODs and see you talking. You ain't part of the gang unless you're here with us from day one, alright? You is not a part of the gang unless you're riding with us on day one. So no fake fans. We know the real ones. But God, I hope they play well. I really do. Fnatic game is tough, man. Dirk is a...
So what are your guys' expectations for this Sentinels team, especially the way that North America's been going so far? And yes, the likes of Evil Geniuses, Team Heretics didn't really deliver that much. Koi, I think, were a very good team, and Solar, a very good team, and NRG were pretty impressive to take them down. And also we've seen what Cloud9 did against Paper X. And we know that Sentinels are, considered by most to be somewhere in the 2nd to the 4th best team in North America. And let's say they're even on par with Cloud9, like that might be a good enough level to win this series against Fnatic. The issue is, though, that we don't really know is how good are the top European teams compared to the bottom European teams. Like, how good are Fnatic compared to Heretics? Like, I think to me it seems that a lot of the top European teams are heavily stacked, right? The Fnatic guys, the Liquid guys, of course Na'Vi, which is former FPX miners, Artis, plus cNed, like very impressive rosters, and Sentinels have to play one of them in the very first round against a Fnatic team that's arguably going to be the best team in the entire world. So that's where the issues are, well, that's where the question is. Now, the advantage that they have potentially is that the crowd should be on Sentinel's side, you would think, given the fact they've got Sassy and Mancada. Now, there's some Brazilian fans, I imagine, that are frustrated with these guys leaving Loud and going to join Sentinels, but it's all the Americas at the end of the day, and they're still Brazilian players, they still speak Portuguese, so, I imagine that the Brazilian crowd is going to be on their side in this series, which does give maybe some element of advantage. Especially when on an individual level, these guys are rather good, even as Vanity says here, one of the DMs of all time. He's a third tier, Cloud9 and LeBron, but it's getting headed up by TenZ and zyppan, and you even got a couple of the EDG guys in here that will be playing against 100 Thieves over the coming days when they play in Group Omega. So these are just the information on Group Omega as it stands. So this is a stacked group. You look at it from top to bottom, like just honestly looking at some of these teams compared to Group Alpha is, well, pretty different gravy, to be honest. You've got Liquid, you've got Na'Vi, Crew, even the likes of Leviathan people think are very good. I mean, obviously 100 Thieves, Sentinels, Fnatic, Fnatic, T1 Fury. Like, this group is mega stacked. And, you know, just to look how a potential bracket could go, if Sentinels were to beat Fnatic, they'd play maybe T1, maybe Furia, and if they win that, they probably play 100 Thieves. So that'd be very interesting. I mean, who knows what happens over at this side of the bracket, but 100 Thieves should be favored to get through. And then, of course, on the top side, you've got Liquid and Na'Vi here. So, like, all the stacked European teams are here, but only one of Liquid and Na'Vi can qualify. And, well, we'll see how that goes. But tonight, the matches are back in business, baby. So there's 2 games today at 5 p.m. at GMT, so 12 p.m. or midday Eastern, and or 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Pacific time, or if you guys are further east, then feel free to do the analysis yourself. And it's 8 p.m. GMT for Loud versus Carmine Corp. So yes, NRG versus Giants. Giants look pretty good round 1, but again, it's going to be Europe or Spain versus NRG. I think I'm going to take NRG to come out on top here. I think they looked better in the first series, but we shall see. And then Loud versus Carmine Corp. Honestly, the level that Carmine Corp played first round, I wasn't particularly impressed with. I think that Loud should deal with them here, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And if that is the case, NRG versus Loud is going to be a cracking semi-final, given the fact that already we've got the OpTic core versus the Loud core again, which is, I mean, like, the storylines write themselves if that comes true. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.